Looming on the horizon, we have Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier in the main event of UFC 236. This fight's very interesting for multiple reasons. Max Holloway has never fought at 155, and he's fighting against a guy that handed him his first professional loss, a man that's been beaten by the same notable figure in MMA, Conor McGregor, and shares a lot of similar preferences in martial arts, being a striker, being a dogged, stubborn fighter, and having a never say die attitude when it comes to fighting. I would have to pick in the main event with Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway a reluctant decision for me because I think either one could win this. Max Holloway by third round knockout or TKO. And I say this because Max Holloway has exceptional cardio and he's a pressure fighter, has a great chin. He's never been knocked out. And his style doesn't really offer much opportunity for Dustin Poirier to take him down and take advantage of his superior jiu-jitsu skills. Then moving on to the co-main event, we have Kelvin Gastelum versus Israel Adesanya for the interim middleweight title. The current belt holder for the middleweight division is Robert Whittaker, hailing from Australia. And we have a Kiwi fighting for the interim belt. So it would be an interesting case of New Zealand versus Australia for a title if Israel Adesanya is able to take on the task of Kelvin Gastelum and defeat him. But that's a tall order. Kelvin Gastelum is one of the most explosive fighters in welterweight and middleweight history. He was able to successfully move up in weight and defeat Tim Kennedy, and that was a fight where I personally didn't see him being able to win. He's a guy that constantly is underestimated and meets the occasion. And that was true since the Ultimate Fighter days, where he beat Uriah Hall in the final, and Uriah Hall was looked at as one of the most terrifying fighters to come out of the Ultimate Fighter, a guy that was being compared to Anderson Silva right out the gate. So I am hesitant again to pick on this one because it's a very well put together card, but Kelvin Gastelum's knockout power and his versatility in the game, his tools, and just the fact that he doesn't make a lot of mistakes and he has superior boxing to many of the fighters Israel Adesanya has fought in MMA. It seems to me Kelvin Gastelum has more ways to win, and that should offer him the edge. Although I wish deep down in my heart Jacare Souza and Robert Whittaker were the ones fighting for the belt at this time. But we still get to see Yoel Romero fight Jacare Souza again, so it's nothing to complain about. Then we have Alan Jouban versus a guy I've personally never heard of, but I'm gonna obviously pick Alan Jouban because he's a veteran of the sport, and a 9-2 record is impressive, but I'm not sure how many wins this guy's had outside of the UFC. Then we have Ovin St. Preux versus Ovin St. Preux versus some dude I've also never heard of. Um, oh no, Nikita Krylov. Nikita Krylov. That should be a very interesting fight. Um, OSP has been kind of on a downward stint a little bit, um, but that's not to say that he couldn't pull himself out of it. Um, he has incredible knockout power. He's an explosive fighter. He's a former college football player, and he has really really tight jiu-jitsu. I and I also believe I'd have to check this, but I believe he choked out Nikita Krylov in their last outing. I might be misconstruing another fight, but I'm pretty sure Ovin St. Preux Von Flue choked Nikita Krylov, which has become his signature technique. So I'm gonna pick, based off of that knowledge, I'm gonna pick Ovin St. Preux in this fight, even though Nikita Krylov has made some serious gains in his um, maturation as a martial artist, um, becoming a Russian champion outside of the UFC. Uh, and he has some significant physical characteristics that make him difficult to beat. He's a very big person for the light heavyweight division, but I think that Ovin St. Preux's tools will outweigh the advantages that Nikita Krylov would have over other people in the division. We also have Curtis Millender fighting tonight. I mean, at UFC 236. I'm filming this on March 31st, so it's a little while from now. But I'm going to pick Curtis Millender by knockout. And those are my picks for UFC 236. I'm basically using this as a loose template for any videos that I do in the future of fight analysis or predictions, because I've always loved watching them, whether it's Chael Sonnen's analysis or um, any of the breakdowns that they have with Dan Hardy and all the vets of the UFC that have decided to become analysts. It's just fun to watch, and I think it also expands your understanding of anything you do when you have to regurgitate things you know on film and see how you're actually speaking about these things. And I hope that you guys enjoy this if you're watching, and hopefully I'll make the next one more visually entertaining. But I tried to make this one as brief as possible so that I could get some details out about the fighters and uh, show what exactly um, these fighters have to offer in terms of skills and how they match up to one another. Yeah, bye.